Well, hello everybody, I hope you're all doing fantastically well. It is Connor here with fresh merchandise on, make sure you're checking it out. Link in the description below. We also have the Sociedad top on today, an interesting choice, but we're going to the gym and my target this year is to not shrink the Leeds United kits, of which I did massively last season, everybody. And as we know, as we get older, we don't exactly get slimmer and fitter, so I'm not wearing Leeds tops to the gym because I don't want them to get shrunk in the wash, which just seems to keep happening, even on 30 degrees, everybody. It's shocking. But anyway, how are you all doing? Are you okay? Let me know in the comment section below. What are you up to today? As I mentioned previously, if you want some bonus content, you can head on over to the Patreon, of which we'll be uploading 2 podcast episodes this week. It's a lovely sunny day. It's nice at long last to see this orange thing in the sky here in sunny old England all of a sudden. But we're back here discussing Leeds United, and listen, it's not all about news today, of which we know it's quite quiet on the rumour mill. So I wanted to speak about Daniel Farke and what a massive season this is for the German. So at Borussia Mönchengladbach, I've done a look back this morning in terms of his tenure there and how potentially upset the Mönchengladbach fans were, why they were upset, but also why they were happy and intrigued with Daniel Farke. And there's some similarities, and the correlation is absolutely huge, really. There was certain build-up for Borussia Mönchengladbach, which was elevated by certain people, certain personnel like Hoffmann, and the build-up was ensured through real technical operators like we've seen through Summerville and Rutter, and the heavy reliance on those players. The mass focus that appears to be very different this season when it comes to Leeds pressing. At Gladbach, they were one of the best pressers in the Bundesliga when Farke had really got his imprint in, and you thought last season it was a bit of a fractured press, wasn't it? We sometimes would and we sometimes wouldn't, and I really put that down to maybe Joel Peru not being a real leader of the line, and I think that's definitely going to change with the likes of Matteo Joseph, and obviously, we're going to see Joe Rothwell, who is very much a runner and someone in the midfield who is going to be able to elevate that press as well when pushing high up the pitch. Recoveries in their third, etc, etc. And we know we've seen Summerville do it, we've seen Rutter do it to a decent extent, but we really need to lead the line, and I think Joseph will do that to a really good level. So the interesting bit with Daniel Farke is there's such a mass amount of pressure on him this season. And for me, there's a mass amount of pressure on him as well, because if Summerville is to leave, if the worst is to happen, what does Farke do? Because we saw with Norwich, it was Emi Buendia in terms of the build-up. Borussia Mönchengladbach, there was heavy reliance on Hoffmann and other real technical players. Sometimes it was Neuhaus as well. And there's a heavy reliance on those two building up through the vertical standpoint we see at Leeds United. So there's been correlations. Obviously, Krasnodar, there wasn't a big enough sample size, one of Farke's former clubs as well. And it's going to be fascinating to see how he adapts this season, because it's his second season. You would expect to press. You would expect all of these things to come together. He's had a full pre-season. But what were the similarities at Norwich and what were the similarities at Borussia Mönchengladbach throughout his entire tenure? Late substitutions, the misuse of substitutions, an over-explanation every single match when it wasn't going well, which we saw at Norwich, obviously in the Premier League when it was going wrong for Farke. And the exact same thing happened at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and a real breakdown with the fans who by the end were whistling anytime Daniel Farke's name was said on the announcer. So why am I mentioning all this? Well, because for me, this season is huge for Leeds, but it's huge for Daniel Farke. Right now as we speak, nearing the beginning of August, Valencia on the horizon. In this division right now, I look at Luton and I look at Burnley, and I still think they've got really decent squads. Coventry, bit of an outlier. Other outliers in there as well, Middlesbrough, etc. But you do look at this Leeds United squad and you think it's beyond talented, it's beyond good. The manager, however, you look at and you think, is there maybe a lack of something? Is there a lack of pragmatism? Which there was at Mönchengladbach, there was at Norwich City. Well, what have we seen in terms of elevation so far and development? We've seen Daniel Farke in pre-season try 3-4-3. Do I expect Farke to go into a 3-4-3 as the season progresses and as we go into Portsmouth? And notoriously the 4-2-3-1 is a more attacking formation, and when you want to win, you want to dominate the ball, you normally revert to a 4-2-3-1 because you have more attackers on the pitch as opposed to more defenders. So there's been a bit of pragmatism there, but I do worry a little bit with Mr. Farke. I worry that patterns and trends is something that I always go on. I worry that the data is there to support that the German hasn't really elevated his managerial pedagogy in terms of substitutions, when to utilise them, keeping the whole squad happy, of which at Mönchengladbach it was fractious, at Norwich at the end it was fractious. Listen, I think as Daniel Farke's career has gone on, you've not really seen enough pragmatism and enough development, and that's why this season's going to be so interesting, because it feels like the pressure is really on. And I do wonder, has the pressure been on him that much in his career, but also, as in what it is now, but also has he really been able to thrive at the highest stage in his career? And the data and the results suggest he hasn't. Norwich in the Premier League, Mönchengladbach, he tried to play an almost revolutionary style of football in a German Bundesliga, of which teams won't get the ball and flowingly play football. Farke tried to implement that and it didn't work. And I just wonder how far this is going to go with Leeds, because I do look at Farke and I do wonder a little bit, is he a little bit limited as a manager? Does he solely rely on individual talent? The vertical build-up Leeds are going to be playing is going to be administered by Jorginho Rutter and Crysencio Summerville, and Farke is a very, very lucky man. I genuinely believe that any even up-and-coming manager, but any top manager at this level, relative, would absolutely die for this squad in the Championship, would die for this fan base, and would die for the opportunity to take this club to the Premier League. I think it's a massive opportunity for him. And I just worry and wonder, is the job, would you say, is it too big for him? I don't know. I don't think he's taken on a managerial post like this in his career. But I do wonder if he's going to be able to be ultimately successful with Leeds United, because I do believe that some of potentially our best players there is a severe likelihood they will move on. And if they don't move on, look, we will never know, because I think Leeds will win the league, but when there's going to be a huge deficiency in build-up, but with quality as well, if Summerville is to leave, or if Nonto is to leave, can the manager adapt? Can we see Leeds United with lesser quality players able to dominate games, able to press as effectively? And like he's done with Buendia at Norwich, like he's done with the personnel at Mönchengladbach, as I've mentioned, is he able to rely on the unit to build up and the unit to be successful, as opposed to individual quality to win games? And I guess that is where it's always going to be levelled at Daniel Farke. Can he do it without? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Anyway, everyone. Fascinating to hear what you think on this one. Are you a little bit worried by Daniel Farke? Am I overthinking it? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this, but I do wonder if the worst case scenario happens and Leeds do lose one of these Hollywood-esque players at this level. Can we cope? And how do we cope? Because the manager, for me, from Norwich to Mönchengladbach to Leeds United, has shown the exact same tendencies. Do you think he'll develop? Do you think you've seen enough in pre-season that Leeds United are going to be successful? Can you judge pre-season? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As I say, everyone, more of a debate, a discourse here, not a out-and-out accusation that Mr. Farke can't be successful. He's been successful previously. But I just wonder, if we are to lose one or potentially two of these prized assets, do you reckon he can do it? And how do you reckon he can do it? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for the support. I'll see you in a bit.